May 8th marks a significant day in European history, commemorating Victory in Europe Day or WWII Day since 1945. This year, the nation celebrates the 80th anniversary of the Allied victory that brought an end to World War II in Europe.
My connection to WWII Day would be that my grandparents lived through the war. My grandfather, my father's father, was actually a prisoner of war from Dunkirk all the way to the end of WWII Day. So for him, it was the end of a nasty chapter in his lifetime, which he never spoke about. You know, even though he was a prisoner of war, he never said anything about it.
At 3 p.m. on May 8, 1945, Prime Minister Sir Winston Churchill declared that all German forces had surrendered.
At General Eisenhower's headquarters, General Jodl, the representative of the German High Command, and of Grand Admiral Dönitz, the designated head of the German state, signed the act of unconditional surrender of all German land, sea, and air forces in Europe to the Allied expeditionary forces and simultaneously to the Soviet High Command.
That statement brought an end to almost 6 years of war in Europe, in which almost 400,000 British soldiers and 70,000 civilians were killed. The Second World War devastated the continent, leaving cities in ruins. Nazi forces, alongside their allies in Italy and Eastern Europe, committed horrific crimes as part of the Holocaust, killing millions of people.
80 years down the line, it means, school children are still learning about it. Because we're now the generation that's going to lose people who are actually there. You look at a lot of the veterans now being over 100 years old.
Yeah.
Something to keep going, just to remind people, what war is about, especially in the climate we've got now. Obviously things happening in Asia, things Ukraine. It's not as if war's going to go away.
While Europe stood in ruins, Britain, along its allies, the United States, France, and Soviet Union, along with many other brave people of Europe, stood victorious. According to people here in East Riding of Yorkshire, that day in 1945 came as a relief, with many thousands of brave Yorkshire men and women serving abroad to help bring an end to the World War.
Our thoughts turn to thanksgiving and remembrance of those millions that gave so much to achieve the freedom we all enjoy today. We remember those we lost, those who were wounded or scarred, those whose lives were forever changed by war. Nobody was immune from this impact of the terrible conflict. Let us pause to remember their sacrifice.
This year's celebrations commenced with flag-raising ceremonies and proclamations, followed by exhibitions, displays at public libraries, visit to memorial parks where some weapons used in the war were put on display, and church Thanksgiving services. It is indeed a celebration of 80 years of peace since the end of the Second World War.
I think, it's very important to celebrate. Young people need to remember this. I think young people can often forget it, but if it wasn't for their sacrifices and, WWII Day, we wouldn't be living in the society we live in today.
WWII Day at 80. 80 years on, the British remember their fallen heroes. Those are people who sacrificed their lives for their future. According to them, they will never be forgotten. From Cottenham Village in East Riding of Yorkshire in England, Oluwayomi Oshutokun reporting.